Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. One of the key things for a successful trader and what has consistently worked for me is to take the time out and reflect on key turning points in markets. In today's session, I will share with you how we successfully identified, secured the lows ahead of CPI and navigated the post-CPI release with finesse. It is our weekly prep that laid the foundation and that allowed us to think a little less and focus a little more on execution instead. In fact, I would strongly recommend you all to subscribe to the free newsletter that's posted on Substack every Sunday. Trust me, it will be a major value add. The link has been shared in the description box below. So, without further ado, let's get to it. The week prior to CPI release found resistance 3 times at 4404, 4414. This zone has been highlighted in green. And this is a location which I would categorize as stiff resistance. Why so? Because we rejected on the 7th, then on the 8th, formed a marginal high on the 9th and ultimately flushed lower. And that for me is a stiff resistance. So one thing about stiff resistance is once they do break out, either with tempo or have a successful backtest, simply do not fight the trend until proven otherwise. And that's precisely what we witnessed this past week, where on Friday we witnessed a breakout and subsequently on Monday of this week, 13th November, we had a successful backtest during Asia, London hours and then the RTH. And not so coincidentally, we also had the same zone marked as our buyer's zone in the weekly plan shared with you guys on Sunday right here, that buyers will seek to continue one-time framing up on the daily and hold above 4404.12 and target 46.86 and 94. Now, you may wonder, is a zone that's tested 3 times and acting as resistance enough to mark, let's say, 4404 and 4414 in this case as an important level for the week? Well, the answer is no. It is always about the location ES traveled to and from and the ultimate magnet or target that is out there. So let me dive a little into this and give you a sneak peek. And in this case, which is 4404 and 14, in this case, what we know is after the flush on Thursday, ES defended the primary larger balance range, that is 4369, 4494. As you can see the blue box here, this is the range 4369, 4494. This is a range that has been with you guys throughout the summer. We've been talking about it in my earlier videos. I've been sharing it almost every single week on Substack, and this zone, this range remains of importance today, next week, possibly even early next year. So please understand the behavior around these zones, because this is going to help you tremendously to navigate. So back to it. On Friday, what we witnessed on Thursday, post the flush on the 9th, what we witnessed, we cleared the then poor low at 4364, and what you witness on Friday is a quick recapture of 4369, the balance bottom. You get a textbook list long confirmation here, which tells you buyers have refueled, they are recharged to take another attempt at the stiff resistance which rejected earlier. And with that, we can see Friday, it started one-time framing up, left a few single prints along the way, but ultimately rallied and broke the stiff resistance. And at that point, we knew that a full balance rotation is at play as per balance rules. The bottom of the balance has been defended, which means the first target, in theory, is going to be the balance halfback, and from halfback, it is going to be the balance top. So what we were essentially waiting for on Monday is, can we get a successful backtest of this zone given the fact 43.69 was defended, and on Friday we had a nice little breakout of that resistance zone. Thus, this zone became of importance and we flipped resistance into support, and is what we were watching. Now, momentarily, let's assume if this failed, then we would really doubt the buyers here at 43.69 and we would possibly call for a move back down lower. But anyhow, that did not happen. This is just for your learning. Ultimately, this was backtested successfully on Monday and the charge higher continued. So moving forward, our conviction on a CPI breakout rally grew further when ES started hovering around 44.20s. It's the same location as 12th October. Back then, it was hovering around the same 44.20s. Now that, folks, is a glimpse of market memory. That is back to the same scene of crime, and thus my message to the team: pop first. And let me just share with you, where did I show? Yep, here's the post shared on Twitter where I clearly said, now it's interesting to note ES pacing above prior CPI's release range, which indicates pop first, and we had those upside targets in place as well. And as you can see, we literally rallied right into the balance top. 44.90 of course is the high, but ultimately we completed the full balance rotation, that is right from the lows here at 43.69 all the way to the high at 44.94. And at this moment, we are essentially chopping between the two balance range. So for me, this is market now trying to find direction, and I would just respect the extreme ends of the balance, and only on a break above or breakdown is when I would truly believe the next trend would develop. So folks, in the first 8 minutes, I've essentially showed you how we identified the stiff resistance, how we used the balance rules, the importance of it, how we were able to gauge that this is where buyers refueled, broke through, waited for the backtest on Monday 13th, and then we identified the same crime scene as 12th of October CPI, and having that indication of there's going to be a pop first, which was the case. That ultimately, in bigger frame of in the larger time frame, we essentially rotated from 43.69 to 44.94. Now this is where you want to realize, take a step back. There was no hindsight crap in this. It was a pure foresight of levels with a clear direction and targets. And all of this was derived with a very thorough understanding of the market dynamics, along with the textbook application of the balance rules. All of these combined allowed us to anticipate the current leg higher, or the leg higher that took place this week. I am now going to take a couple of minutes to talk about the move post CPI release and how we navigated it. First up, we were dealing with a large gap up into the balance top, which is 44.94. And most traders right here have all the right reasons to be hesitant. I would lie if I said we weren't initially. But that's all, initially. Once ES held the open, right? What was the opening level? 43.86, is it? Yes. Once 43.86 held, after the early back and forth between 40.80s and 40.90s, the game plan was then pretty clear. Stay long, be long, don't fight the trend. Now, that's because we have a golden rule here, right? Something you want to all journal, note it down. Do not fight the event range break, right? So this is the event right here. Of course, the clock that you see is London time, 1:30 all the way till 2 o'clock. This is a 30-minute candle. So what you know is you've got the 30 minutes of the event range. Now don't fight it if it is holding, right? And that's exactly what happened to the T. Once acceptance was seen above the open on Tuesday, 44.86, with lack of interest below, we had gap rules confirming to gap and go. That is essentially go with the gap. B, above the CPI range, above the CPI release range. Now that got us long again. So just think, we had two sets of confirmation, right? The gap rules suggesting go with the gap, and then we have another golden rule that I've just shared with you is do not fight an event range break. We had both present right at the open. Sure, as any prudent trader, we were also ready to flip on any sort of failure. But until that was not seen, long was the trade. We were not anticipating a short until a failure was not seen. So we took those longs early on Tuesdays and held on to it. Now, once that happened, thereafter, it was all about the developing MGI, market generated information, confirming the thesis and guiding us. First up, observe, period B did not pull back more than 50% or even 50% of period A range. There you go. This is your period A. Period B is the subsequent 30-minute candle. And as you can see, barely a backtest of period A high. Not a 50% pullback or a retrace, which means the opening was strong. Now, over and above the factors highlighted. Next, observe how the afternoon pullback occurred right at period B lows. That same region was marked in our weekly plan as a decision-making zone, 44.94, 45.02. There you go, right? Very clear. Gap followed by 86 and 44.94, 45.02, where the next decision will be made is made upon acceptance above targets 45.21, 45.37, 42, and ultimately the next balance bottom, which is 45, 54, 64, and this is the balance we're talking about, 57, correct? So, now, just think about it. A perfect backtest, which so happens to be the period A high, the period B low, happens during the afternoon and also at the weekly zone that we had marked. And what was the low? The low was 4,500. So, the move higher was then sealed. On this defense, you knew the move higher would ultimately unfold, and there you go. We witnessed a 50-point move right into our fifth target of the week, which is 45, 37, 42, which pretty much acted resistance throughout. Now, lastly, you may wonder, did we take these longs? Hell yes, we did. I have shared all the live trades, all the live callouts that were shared in the room via the weekly recap shared on Substack this Friday. Give it a quick read and you will see how it all came together, and we were live there calling out every long that was present, and we had the same reasons in our mind that I have shared in this recording. So, to conclude, here's the thing, folks. Majority of us look for some crystal ball. We look outside for hundreds of opinions when it is all there right in front of you. The difference lies The difference lies in how you comprehend the development. Are you able to be in sync with the markets? And lastly, do you realize you're here to make money and not to be a hero, irrespective of where ES travels to? And with that, I wish you folks a happy Sunday and a good week ahead. Until next time, RS signing off. Take care.